Hey friends, welcome back to a new Power BI video. Now, in the past, Power BI was rather static when it comes to shapes and images. What I mean by this is if you go to the Insert tab, in the past we had various buttons in here, and these buttons are actually all we had. So there was a limitation regarding what kind of shapes we can use for the buttons and so on. For instance, I could type on this left arrow and then I could insert a left arrow and drag it somewhere on my screen and then use it, right? If you tick the shape and go to the Format button here, you see that under Actions that you were able to tick the action on and the default was back. Now, we also know that next to the Back button here, so as an example, let's go to the cluster analysis, then let's go to page number 4, and if I now press, in this case, because I'm on the desktop, Control plus my left mouse key, then I jump back to my cluster analysis. And that's fine. But of course, we could also link a specific button here to a different action, like triggering, for instance, as you can see here, a bookmark, or using it as a drill through button, page navigation, and so on. So as an example, page navigation, and if I go in here and say I'd like to go to, I don't know, my Pareto test, I take this option here, and then I click on this button here, and then I jump to my Pareto site, my Pareto test site, right? So this works. So the buttons itself are flexible. However, what the limitation was, at least for me, was that the button shape actually was not. So if you tick here on the buttons, you had these options, but this was it. But now, in the newer versions of Power BI, we have various more options, which is great. For instance, I could choose another button here and I go with a blank one, tick this option. Now by default, it is a rectangle or square, depending on how you look at it. But if you tick the option here, you have not only the option to add text, for instance, fill the button, depending on whether you want to hover over the button or when you click the button and so on, but also, and it's much more interesting to me, is the shape. So by default, we had a few shapes in here, but now you see that there are various more shapes available for us. For instance, you could try them out. Pill, you already see that it looks different, or also iso, I can't even spell this, triangle, right? So you create a triangle like that, and so on. So these are already much better. For instance, the speech bubble, also kind of interesting, which you can use. This was, of course, linked to, I think, the Q&A feature, but you can also use it with a blank button. And again, use any kind of, in this case, action you want to trigger with it. Like here, choose the back, choose a bookmark, a drill through, and so on. And by the way, if you want to see more of this, or should I cover this in a video, just let me know, and then we can have a look at that. So this already was better because there were more shapes, which I can now link to a specific button and also then trigger different kinds of actions, but it still was not enough for me. And what really sealed the deal for me was actually using images. In the past, I think images were images, so you can't really do anything with them. However, now you can click on an image, you can tick the image, I'm choosing my flag here, I click on open, and now I have an image here, so my little flag, and I can use this image also as a trigger like a button. I mean by that, if you select the image itself, you can go to Actions, and if you turn the actions on, if you go in here, you see that you also have various options like back, bookmark, and the other ones. So you can also use a specific image now to trigger a certain action. Like for instance, go to a web URL, of course, or trigger a Q&A feature, or also page navigation. So if I go to page navigation, and my destination here would be, for instance, if I go one time, I had my cluster analysis, I take this as an example again, and then I hover over this and I click on it, control click if you're on a desktop, and you also jump to the cluster analysis. So you can get the same behavior using images. And this, of course, is even more flexible than the new shapes which we have now in Power BI available, because here you can basically import any image you want. The only thing which I would recommend is that you make the image with a transparent background. So you have it like me here. I see only the flag itself, and behind I would see in this case my darker background, and I don't have a white background attached to the image itself, which I would not like that much. But it's easy to do this. You just need to Google it and make the image transparent, or you maybe have another tool like Adobe or anything like that. As a Photoshop, you can also do that. Yeah, but that's basically it. So I just wanted to cover this because I think this is really, really powerful, because this allows you really to drag any kind of image you want. May it be your company logo, or may it be any other kind of image, like you have a specific button which you can't find the shape for. You just import the image and then you use this specific shape or this button as your trigger for doing various actions, like triggering bookmarks, which are really powerful in Power BI, or also triggering a Q&A feature, which is also very interesting to a lot of report consumers, and so on. So that's it actually. This is what I wanted to cover here. So if you have not used it like that in the past, think about it. Maybe that's of help to you. And as always, if you have not done so far, then I would highly recommend and appreciate, of course, if you would subscribe to my channel to see more videos about Power BI and also other topics. Just let me know, ask, and I see what I can do. Okay? So then stay safe and hopefully see you in the next video. Until then, best guys.